Didn't I just see you on Friday for a whole different conversation? But you're as beautiful as ever, and that smile kind of tells me you're up to something. I don't know if that's a good or bad smile. Should I be worried?
You tell you people tell me I have a mischievous smile. It's just my smile. Maybe I might be thinking things, but usually the angel's on my side, not the devil. So
Yeah,
that's so
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I think you've got a mischievous smile. Like I think it's like
What?
a twinkle in the eye, maybe. I don't know. Could be.
Oh,
Who knows?
now you're giving secrets away. Well, how are you doing, my friend? I'm so excited to see you. As I was saying, I saw you last Friday as we worked together on the Walking Tall Movement podcast with Miss Catherine Severance Avery, but we'll talk about that later. How was your weekend? And I'm so excited for today's show. You know what I think about journeys and Beth, of course.
Yeah, okay. So I when you sent me a text saying, "We've got Beth, we've got," I'm like, "Yay!" Because you and we've supported journeys in the past, right?
Yep.
And so it's really nice to, you know, see the faces again and like really hammer in the purpose and the work that, that they're doing, right? So I'm super hella excited. My weekend, it was what it was. When you're gone for a week for another client conference, it takes a lot to come back. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Now I forgot that vacations do that to us too. Why Americans struggle because it's hard to come back, my friend.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all
why
I'm
we don't
saying.
take vacations, and that's why, like, it boggled my mind when I was working in corporate America, the amount of vacation time people left on the table at the end of the year because they just didn't want to get behind. Think of how sad of that is. We're digressing, but nevertheless, yes, Beth is awesome. Journeys has been a partner in the past. As you know, I served as their auctioneer at their gala in November. We had a great time. And this is just further example of Hail Hail Auction supporting great partners and community building organizations. It's what we aspired together, Sia, is to ingrain ourselves to a degree in the organizations we believed in by finding ways to support them throughout the year, whether it's me being the auctioneer, whether it's having somebody from their organization on the show, whether it's helping promote various events and opportunities for those to donate, right? Whatever it is, we just want to support good organizations. And this is another good example of that. But of course, we wouldn't be able to do this show without some of our sponsors, right? And as further proof of us growing, we now have sponsors from all parts of the Chicagoland and the nation with Brilliant Beam Media. But real quick, if you don't mind, I want to highlight Speakeasy Custom Tattoo. Speakeasy, if you don't know, is my personal tattoo parlor, and Patrick Cornolo has treated me so well as it relates to. If you don't know, he donated gosh, I'm losing my words here. He donated a tattoo to Healing Inc. for me way back when. And, Speakeasy Custom Tattoo is located in the Wicker Park neighborhood of Chicago in the historic Flatiron Building. They have 30 years of experience, and they have a curated staff of the most magnificently talented local and international artists. And they continue to bring new artists in monthly from all over the world. They're an appointment-only custom tattoo shop, and they offer a wide range of styles in a clean and relaxing environment. And whatever the style you're looking for, they will absolutely make it come to life. Go to their website at speakeasycustomtattoo.com. You can make an appointment, reach out to Kelly or Patrick, and they'll surely help you out. So thanks to Speakeasy. And of course, you, Sia, and Brilliant Beam for what this show could not be possible. I always leave it to you to promote your services because, as you saw, I just stuttered over Speakeasy. I was fumbling the computer. That I lost their read. So forgive me, but yeah, I was trying to hide it, but I'm just going to tell it like it is. I lost the stupid read. So, but Brilliant Beam Media, see, tell us what you're all about.
We are an agency that helps companies save time on their resources. So, if you're looking to expand your business from a social media perspective, social media management, digital content creation, how to embrace the world of social media within your existing marketing strategy, we are here to help you. So, we are B2B focused, and we are LinkedIn and YouTube focused. So, for those that are interested in growing their personal brand, in the context of their business profile, we are here to help you. We are not Instagrammer peoples, so we will post, but we're really more about the professional audience. So,
Well,
Brilliant
I
Be Me.
think Yeah, again, I think the world of you and your services. Again, this show wouldn't be possible without all your talents. And speaking of your talents, I always love our intro, and you created that for us. And so I'm ready to rock out and get on with today's show. So let's kick it off, huh?
It's awesome. Have a great show, everyone.
There she is, Miss Beth Nabors Powers, the executive director of Journeys, the Road Home, an amazing organization located. Beth, you don't even know this. You're less than 2 miles from where I'm at today, where I live. And I drive past your facility most daily on my way to see my kids. It's a beautiful facility. And obviously, the work Journeys does is so integral into the community at large in which I live in and I've grown up in. And so I'm just so excited to have you on the show. Obviously, we got to work together in November for your beautiful gala, but I'm just so excited for those watching and listening to learn more about you and Journey. So if you don't mind, tell folks who you are and a little bit about what it is you do.
So hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. I really
Of course.
appreciate this time. My name is Beth Nabors. I'm the executive director of Journeys, the Road Home. I'm actually the founder that merged two nonprofits to form what Journeys, the Road Home is now. And I've been doing that since 1999. So what Journeys does is we serve our community. We are the northwest suburbs of Cook County, and we serve individuals who have already become homeless and are without a stable living environment, or they are at risk of becoming homeless because they're unstably housed. And in that population, we serve just a little under 1,000 people annually, and it breaks down to about 50% of that population are without homes and 50% are at risk of losing them.
Wow. And God, you just taught me something I didn't know about you. I already thought you were amazing, but you've become even more amazing somehow. So talk a little bit about that experience of merging two nonprofits to create what I call the superpower now, because I want to talk about, what it is you folks do in the facility, because it's beautiful and state of the art. But how did all that come to be? What were you doing and what was the nature of the organization previously?
Okay, so I was living in Charleston, Illinois, after having completed my master's degree. And then I returned to the Chicagoland area. I'm a resident of Arlington Heights since 1967 when I was 1. So do the math. You now know how old I am.
No.
And so I returned to the area, and my grandmother was a volunteer at Northwest Suburban PADS, which was one of the agencies that merged together. And she had directed me to go apply for the job of the individual they were seeking to help merge that nonprofit with another called Hope Now Incorporated, which was a small nonprofit that did case management services for the same population as those that were being housed in the shelter. And I had already taken a job at another nonprofit locally because of this transition back home, and told my grandmother, I already have a job, Nani. And she said, no, I want you to go apply because I really think you'd be good. And so they offered me the job on site. So I could not lie to my Nani and say I didn't have an opportunity there. So I had to make a shift decision to follow the matriarch of our Irish Catholic family, because you don't go
Oh,
against
yeah.
her. And
No, you had no choice.
I had to say my
That's
sorry.
like a rearranged marriage or something, wasn't it?
I'm telling you. And so that was 27 years ago. And so I worked on merging the two nonprofits, and then really got bit by the bug. Being raised in Arlington Heights, I never saw homelessness, which is why I had told my grandmother I would give a year, because I just really thought it wasn't going to keep me challenged. And then when I got into the work, realized what a secret population it is in the suburbs, and how they really fly under the radar so as not to bring attention to the community they once were taxpayers in, and to make sure they don't get additional consequences for being poor. So they really fly under the radar. Most community members don't get to see the population very often. And so it was hard for me to realize this job was going to keep me busy and challenged. And I was wrong. It's a big problem everywhere, and it's a growing problem. There's a lot of factors that made it come into realization back in the late 80s. So that was things I did not know, things that I've been educated on since being here. But poverty's been around since beginning of time, as we all know, but mass homelessness came in the late 80s. when there were some governmental shifts. Two specifically. One was when the state and the government no longer supported poor individuals in residential mental health facilities. So either you needed insurance or you had to have committed a crime that forced you into a mental health residential facility versus jail. Other than that, waiting lists were 20 arms long, and you weren't going to get any residential mental health services if you were poor. And then the other shift that happened at the exact same time in the late 80s was the government did not recognize addiction as a treatment, as a disease that required treatment from any kind of federally or state funded programming. So it was removed out of the DSM, which is the diagnostic manual. And then that indicated poor people were not worthy of treatment because they couldn't afford it. So those two things were kind of the push that brought mass homelessness into society's reality. And then over time, it has shifted a bit because mental health agencies and substance abuse agencies has really worked hard to fill that gap. And so it's shifted now to it's really an affordability issue. This homelessness, it's the lack of affordable housing, the lack of attention towards affordable housing. There's those types of things that just keep people down and doesn't allow them to move forward. So, we've shifted as to what are the reasons for homelessness, and then because of those reasons, what shifts the demographic of the individual that we're serving. So.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing education. Thank you. And truly, and it's interesting for someone like myself, as you said, right? The area of which I reside, in which the facility you so beautifully manages in, you wouldn't think that there would be a crisis, right, of homelessness or unhoused population or vulnerable, circumstances, considering the affluency, right, middle America, et cetera. And when I went into your facility, it was so inspiring, but certainly concerning to see the amount of people of which you serve and where they were coming from, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about how the facility came to be. What was that like? Because, as I walked into that building several times, as I have now, whether it's to drop a few shirts off or meet with the team, I just get so inspired, and I walk out of there feeling so hopeful that there are great people like yourself and your team, and having great facilities to support those that need it most. So what did that look like? And tell a little bit about the facility that you have to support.
Great. Well, over time, we realized that the problem wasn't going away. And we had really strong partnerships that worked together in order to serve people when they found themselves in the situation of either being homeless or at risk. But what we realized is it wasn't enough. And there was a specific population with which we served that was having a very hard time navigating the scattered site shelter system we had in the northwest suburbs in partnership with our faith-based locations. Typically people who had developmental disabilities and would find themselves getting lost when they were trying to navigate the communities to get to the shelter, or individuals who did have substance abuse or mental health issues where there was some behaviors that made it problematic to serve in a shelter system. And we, started working on that idea and a strategic plan with the agency. And what came out of it was a fixed site location that really served individuals from that more special population, the ones that would need 24-hour clinical care, individuals here to help with their progress going from being homeless into a life of stability. And so that's where the concept of this facility kind of cropped up. When we finished our feasibility study and we were ready to kick off the capital campaign, it happened to be the very first night that COVID was presented in the United States. So it was on leap year, and it was, our kickoff event. And who is now my board president, Tony Butler, who was in charge of emergency preparedness for the hospital system, walked up to me at our event and said, this is not going to work well for us. He already knew that it was probably going to be a pandemic, even though the majority of us thought maybe a few weeks. And so I had to go back and redesign my ideas, and luckily had a really good construction company that was generaling the job for free for us. And we had a really good architectural firm, and we put pen to paper again and redesigned the facility, moving it from an $8.6 million capital campaign down to a 6.2. We were able to get everything we wanted to do in this building moved into a 2-story building by taking it out of precast and moving it to metal frame, which changed all of our construction budgets. And we were able to move forward in that way. So we did a capital campaign during COVID, the very beginnings of COVID. We never shut down the building. Our staff worked through the entire COVID because the rest of the world got to bunker in at home, and the people we served were put on the streets because our congregate shelters shut down. So we were the first in the whole area. And in fact, I would even challenge the state of Illinois to move everybody from congregate shelters into a hotel-based sheltering program. Luckily, I am an alum of St. Viator High School, which is a local high school here in the area, and the Viatorians came through with huge support in the very beginning before we could even open up grants, and allowed us 3 weeks of hotel stays for over 100 people. And then we just started writing grants like crazy to the government saying, hey, we got your people all in hotels trying desperately to keep them safe. Can you help support us? And they did, and they came through in droves. And then everybody kind of started catching up. So much so that the majority of my counterparts have moved forward post-COVID with buying up hotels and moving into single room occupancy. I did it a little different just because the northwest suburbs of Cook County was not really going to welcome the concept of buying hotels and doing one location kind of density housing. And so I returned back to my partnerships with my faith-based location and then pushed through with building this building. And so that's what we did. And now we are in full, a thriving relationship with our faith-based locations. We have 2 open a night. And then we also have 44 additional beds here in this location to help with the special population. And we still are running our hotel program where we are putting families in the hotels. Only our families are in the hotels. All our holding patterns till we get people housed. And last year, proud to say we were over 130 people permanently housed out of homelessness. So we're on track to hit that number and more so. But unfortunately, it's a problem once you house somebody. We have new people knocking at the door, ready to come in for services. So until we address affordability, until we really tackle it as a nation, this is not a problem going away anytime soon. And I really would like to put myself out of business. I would love.
Me too. I would like to stop supporting you, right? And so to help support Journeys, if you haven't already, please scan the QR code here. It'll take you directly to their website. You could find ways to help kick a few bucks their way. Check out all the amazing information, see pictures of their beautiful facility, etc. And I want to just say real quick, Beth, you spoke so eloquently. Folks might not understand the pressure an executive director faces, not only in running an organization and having staff and having facilities, but you spoke so beautifully. And I, having experience in Parks and Rec with capital projects, you become almost a construction expert, right? And you learn everything you need to know about what a frame is and what type of ductwork you're using, and the list goes on and on. And so I didn't want to let that go by the wayside, because it is important for folks to know you're not just here to raise money and create awareness for the homeless crisis, right? Like, you're a full professional. And so I wanted to bring that to the attention because it often goes for naught. But all the things you were discussing, right, those things don't come free. And as we discussed in backstage, inflation and things are becoming more and more expensive. So if you don't mind, talk a little bit about how Journeys is funded and what the current legislative concerns are potentially doing to organizations like yours.
Yeah, up until COVID, we were really heavily privately funded. We only really worked with government funding at the local level through our townships and our villages. But then when COVID hit, the money to help us house people in the hotels was really coming through the federal government into the state and down through the county. And so we did open up bigger funding streams through government funding to help us continue to serve during the COVID years. We all thought it was weeks, but we're going on many years of it at this point. But so that shifted. And so we really have a very diverse funding base at Journeys. We still, our largest funding source still remains individuals and family foundations. And so we do have a lot of relationship building and partnerships. One of the things that matter most to our family foundations and individuals that, send donations unsolicited to us is that the way we look at our community, that we look at our local residents and our donors as our customer, and that the people we serve are the beneficiaries of our customers. So we see it a little differently as a nonprofit in that we want to make sure the community can sleep well at night because they're taking care of their own, and they're taking care of their own through us. And we want to make sure that they are informed of what services we have here, so that when they do come across somebody who's panhandling, or they do come across somebody who looks like they're struggling, they have the information and the resources to pass on to that person. So they'll get the care they need through Journeys. So really our biggest fundraising is friend finding. It's making sure that people really know what we are doing in their backyard to stabilize their neighbors, because we only serve people who we can link to these communities, because there's other agencies like us throughout the state of Illinois who pick the baton up where we let it go. So we serve from, our service area goes all the way to DuPage County, all the way down to McHenry County, all the way to Lake County, and then up to the city, excluding the city of Chicago. So all the way up to that border. It is a very large footprint. A lot of the times people question, really you have Northsiders who need your services. And the demographic shifts based on the community with which we serve. An individual coming to us from Deer Park is going to be a little bit different than the individual coming to us from Rolling Meadows for different reasons. There's lack of transportation in that area than there is transportation in Rolling Meadows. There are maybe less social service agencies up there than they are down here. Maybe the individual in that area who's struggling is in an unincorporated area, so their taxes that they're paying into don't necessarily support them. So there's a lot of digging in we have to get into to find out where is the best way and what is the best path to stabilize this individual, which is why the name is Journeys, the road home. There's a lot of different paths to get you home. And home is different from each person. Your home might be a stable apartment. Unfortunately, your home might be meeting your maker. And we do that as well. We have burial plots that have been donated to us. We carry people all the way through from beginning to end.
Oh gosh.
And that is something we don't talk about because it's not a jazz hand service we provide to the community. This is a quiet, dignified way to make sure people are laid to rest the way the rest of us are.
I'm getting goosebumps because I wanted to key in on something you said earlier, pushing towards a life of stability.
Right.
And I gather exactly in working with you as we have in the past, and your team and Kate and Clayton and everybody else I came across, now, and as I've gotten to know you, right, that's what you guys exude, right, is your care for those you serve, the attention to detail. And now as I'm learning, even to carrying those to their final resting place to make sure they're received with dignity and however it's just so important work. And so, thank you for that. It's so needed because you often lose sight of some of those more important things with somebody who is unhoused or is homeless or is panhandling when they lose their life. How do they get, supported? And gosh, it just means so much. So thank you for that. But let's talk about something a little more fun. Why don't we? All right. We got to know each other last November as I got to serve as your auctioneer. We had a lot of fun that night, but I know you guys got another great event coming up, a women's luncheon of sorts. So why don't you talk about that as another opportunity for the community to come together in all sorts and raise money and have fellowship and have a good meal, it sounds like too, huh?
Yeah, you have the same skill set my director of development, Suzanne, has. Circle back, Beth. Circle back. Because I really can get into a passion.
No, I felt it. I felt the heaviness and the care as you were talking about that. Like, let's just call it like it is. Nothing could be more important to one to put in their final resting place in a manner that's dignified and with care. And that's not often given to folks, I'm sure, that you serve. So let's have some fun now, huh?
Okay, Women's Luncheon. This has been going on now. This is our 11th year. We found that way before we're struggling with our rights in the government today, we found that it was very difficult for women to have a place to just get together, build each other up, and really kind of network with each other to move themselves through their profession, their personal life, their connectivity with other people. And so 11 years ago, we started that concept, the Women's Luncheon, and all of the proceeds from this event go specifically for this incredibly continually growing population segment within our population, which is women and children, unfortunately. And so we cut this one out of the herd and created this demographic focused event. And so it's a real community minded networking event that has some fun things that go with it. So there's fundraising components to it. So there's a raffle and a silent auction. We have a wine pull. We also have every one of the events, garden stones are made. because
Okay,
it's called
cool.
the Garden of Giving. And so we also have beautifully designed garden stones that are part of the display and the offering as well. This year, the president of Harper College, Dr. Avis Proctor, is our Woman of the Year. We honor somebody each year that has been a standout person who really makes a difference in our community. And when Dr. Proctor came on at Harper College, which is a real stand-up local community college, she has really moved the needle forward with celebrating the entire scope of her student body, people who struggle and are in need, and people who are taking a stepping stone to something greater and bigger. And she has done things like brought a food pantry on campus. She addresses transportation and affordable housing with her students. So she has way expanded this past education. And at the same time, it is a highly recognized and celebrated educational environment. But she is just rock solid representation of who Journeys is and what Journeys stands for and the potential of every woman we serve. So she will be honored at this event as well. It's a great time. It goes from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. It's on April 23rd, which is a Wednesday. So it's a great way if you're a working woman to get out for an extended lunch and do some good for your community. It's going to be at the Shays Hotel, which is located at 518 West Algonquin in Arlington Heights. And if you want to get your tickets online, it's at www.journeystheroadhome.org. And you can get right online and get your tickets online. We sold out last year. We sold out the year before. And we had to move to a bigger venue because we needed space for the popularity. So get in quickly and get your tickets.
Love it. Please, if you haven't already, scan that QR code. And Beth, I want to tell you, we have a wide audience from coast to coast, top to bottom here in the United States. And while those watching may not choose to directly support Journeys because of the location, right? I want everybody that's watching and listening to just take this opportunity to research a local similar organization in your own community,
Yes.
right? As I often bring organizations from the Chicagoland area on, because that's where I reside myself, right? And I understand that we have a wide audience, right? Whatever type of environment or whatever type of issue we're attacking on that show, reach out to your local community, find a homeless shelter, find an organization like Journeys, whether you're in Houston, like some of our great friends are listening today, or in California, right? Take this opportunity and research your own community and how you can help the unhoused and homeless population. So, Beth, this has been just an amazing conversation. I feel like we can go on for hours and hours and hours. I have so many other questions that I want to be educated, so I'm going to have to take you to lunch here soon. But please, before we sign off, I want to just give you one last opportunity. Let folks know how they can connect with you, how they can get more information about Journeys aside from scanning this QR code. Highlight anything else you want to highlight. Here's your last pitch for the last few donations before we say goodbye and move on about our day, because it's like really warm out. It's like 75 today in Chicago. It's great.
We are blessed today for sure.
We are.
Money is definitely needed at Journeys at all times. So there's a lot of ways you can get to us in that way. But really, the most important thing is get informed. Know what is going on in your community. Know how individuals are struggling. It does not take money to help people who are poor. You can actually roll up your sleeves. You can sign up for volunteer efforts and initiatives that allows us to move the needle forward. But again, money is important. It allows us to keep the lights on when you're able to donate in an undirected way, and allows us to be open 7 days a week. So money's a good thing too.
I love it. Yes, please. If you can, kick a few bucks. Journeys the Road Home's way. And if you haven't already, get your ticket for the women's luncheon. I hope to be serving as your auctioneer at the end of this year for your big gala. We had a lot of fun last and raised a bunch of money. So I just think the world of you and your staff, and you guys have welcomed me, and you're not getting rid of me anytime soon. I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah, you're part of the family, Chris.
I'm in. All right. Well, with that said, see ya. Let's highlight our sponsors before we sign off. Again, we're so fortunate to have great support from some local businesses and great friends throughout the country. If not for them, the show wouldn't be possible. So see ya. Why don't we bring that graphic up, and then we'll get to our commercial and we'll move on.
Can be a real pain in the neck. Literally. People of all ages are falling for Tossie. Tossie gives you the comfort you've always dreamed of. Go to TossieBrands.com and get your comfort on.
I love it. Janice and Tausi are great supporters of ours. That's a new commercial too. I'm going to have to find out the who did the voice. It's pretty cute. But again, Beth, you've been such a great guest. We've had many scans of that QR code. If you haven't checked out their website, please do so. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.